Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about a fight that has gotten a lot of people buzzing in the boxing world, and for good reason. Jaron Boots Ennis is set to take on Uisma Lima in a bout that represents not just another step forward for one of boxing's most highly regarded young stars, but also a potential life-changing opportunity for his opponent. This is not just a simple fight announcement. This is a matchup that carries storylines about legacy, weight jumps, risk, reward, and the always important opinions of boxing veterans who know exactly what kind of test this will be. Let's start with the man of the hour, Jaron Boots Ennis. Ennis is a fighter out of Philadelphia who has long been touted as one of the most gifted boxers of his generation. With an undefeated record, a reputation for both slick skills and explosive knockout power, and the swagger of a young man who knows he is special, Ennis has already achieved plenty at welterweight. But here's the thing, at 147 pounds, the big names were either tied up in business politics, or moving around, or flat out not interested in risking their place against someone as dangerous as Ennis. For years, fans and analysts have called Ennis the most avoided fighter in boxing. This is why the upcoming fight against Uisma Lima is so interesting. It is Boots Ennis taking his talents to 154 pounds super welterweight for the very first time. This is about proving he can dominate in a new division that his power carries up, and that his athleticism, reflexes, and ring IQ remain a level above when the men in front of him are a little bigger and stronger. Now, Uisma Lima may not have the name recognition of an Errol Spence or a Terence Crawford, but anyone sleeping on this man might end up being very surprised. Lima is a fighter with a strong record, plenty of knockouts, and a hunger that cannot be overstated. He has never been given a global stage like this one, and as we know in boxing, when a fighter has everything to gain and nothing to lose, that can make them especially dangerous. Stylistically, Lima is aggressive, physically strong, and not the type to fold under pressure. He likes to throw in combinations, push opponents back, and make them uncomfortable. This kind of mentality is exactly what makes him a legitimate opponent for someone of Ennis's caliber. It's not just a tune-up. It's a legitimate test against someone who believes he has the power to shock the world. The stakes here are clear. This fight is being treated as a final eliminator. That means the winner positions themselves directly in line for a crack at a world title in the super welterweight division. For Ennis, this would mean fast-tracking his career at 154 and putting him in position for big names like Sebastian Fundora, Keith Thurman, or even the eventual champions who control the belts at the top of the division. For Lima, a win would mean overnight fame, massive opportunities, and potentially the kind of upset that boxing historians talk about for years. Now let's break down what makes Ennis so dangerous. First and foremost, his athleticism. Boots is a switch hitter, which means he can fight comfortably from both orthodox and southpaw stances. He uses this to confuse opponents, throw off their timing, and create openings where none should exist. Add to this his lightning-fast hands, sharp reflexes, and ability to adjust mid-fight, and you start to understand why many pros consider him one of the most complete young fighters in the game. His power is deceptive. He doesn't always load up, but the precision and timing behind his shots make them devastating. Ask the opponents who have been stopped by punches they didn't even see coming. Ennis is one of those fighters who doesn't just beat you physically, he beats you mentally. Fighters often look lost after a few rounds, unable to solve the puzzle he presents. But this fight is not without risks. Moving up to 154 means Ennis will be dealing with naturally bigger men. They will absorb his shots a little better than those at 147. They will push him physically, and if he doesn't carry his power up, fights could become grueling instead of explosive. This is where Lima comes in. Lima has that rugged style that can make any fight ugly. He's the type of fighter who will test your conditioning, your toughness, and your willingness to trade. If Ennis comes in expecting to simply overwhelm Lima, he might find himself in a dogfight. And as we've seen many times in boxing history, one punch can change everything. What do the pros think about this matchup? The reactions have been fascinating. A lot of veteran fighters see Ennis as the future of boxing, but they're also cautious. Sean Porter, a former welterweight champion, has said in the past that Ennis is one of the most talented fighters he's ever seen, but he also warned that moving up to 154 isn't always as easy as it looks. Porter has first-hand experience moving divisions and knows that those few extra pounds change everything about the way punches feel and how stamina is managed. He believes Boots has the skill to succeed, but he has cautioned fans not to expect him to walk through everyone at 154 the same way he did at 147. Andre Ward, one of the sharpest boxing minds and former pound-for-pound great, has also weighed in. Ward respects the move. He called it bold and said that the great ones always challenge themselves instead of waiting for the perfect situation. Ward pointed out that Ennis is in that tricky stage of his career where he needs challenges to keep his focus sharp. Fighting Lima at 154 gives him that. Ward did note, however, that we still need to see how Ennis reacts when someone can take his best shot and keep coming. That's the test he hasn't truly faced yet, and Lima could provide it. Even Terence Crawford, who has been linked to Ennis for years as a potential opponent, has spoken about the Philly star. Crawford has acknowledged that Ennis has all the tools, but he also threw in a little veteran confidence by saying that talent alone doesn't make you great, it's how you handle adversity. He implied that Ennis has yet to have that kind of gut check moment, and that's what separates the truly elite from the very good. Coming from someone like Crawford, that's high praise, but also a reminder that Boots still has a lot to prove. Other pros like Danny Garcia, himself a Philadelphia fighter who moved up from 140 to 147, have said they love seeing Boots represent their city. Garcia thinks Ennis has all the makings of a champion at 154, and he especially likes the idea of Boots fighting in front of his hometown crowd in Philadelphia. He believes the energy of that city will push him to perform at his very best. Garcia did mention that Lima is no pushover, and that Boots will have to stay disciplined, but he expects Ennis to shine. Now let's talk about Lima and how pros view him. While he doesn't have the same spotlight, trainers and analysts have pointed out that Lima is exactly the type of opponent you don't want to overlook. He's durable, he punches with bad intentions, and he has nothing to lose. That makes him very dangerous. Joe Goosen, a respected trainer, has mentioned that sometimes these so-called underdogs are the hardest fights. Because they aren't burdened by expectation, they fight freely, and if they catch the favorite slipping, suddenly you have a fight on your hands. Goosen has praised Lima's toughness and believes he will bring out the best in Ennis. Fans online have been divided. Some say Lima has no chance and that this is just a showcase for Boots to introduce himself at 154. Others are pointing out that boxing history is full of examples where the underdog rises to the occasion. People thought Buster Douglas had no shot against Mike Tyson. They thought Andy Ruiz had no shot against Anthony Joshua. This is why we watch the fights instead of just reading the resumes. Looking at how the fight might actually play out, here's one possible scenario. Ennis uses his speed, his angles, and his switch hitting to confuse Lima early. He peppers him with sharp counters, making Lima pay for every mistake. If Ennis carries his power up, he could drop Lima in the middle rounds and maybe even finish him. On the other hand, if Lima can weather the storm, push Ennis back, and make it a rough, physical fight, we could be looking at Boots having to dig deep in a way we haven't seen before. That's the intrigue. It's not just whether Ennis wins, but how he wins. If he dominates, the hype train goes into overdrive and calls for big fights at 154 get louder. If he struggles, people will begin to wonder whether he was overhyped or whether the move up in weight is going to be a longer adjustment process. The beauty of boxing is that the ring tells the truth. All the talk, all the predictions, all the opinions from fans and pros alike, none of it matters once that bell rings. But what we do know is that this fight represents a major moment for both men. For Boots Ennis, it's the start of a new chapter and a chance to show that his brilliance transcends weight classes. For Uisma Lima, it's the fight of his life, the opportunity to shock the world and write his name into the history books. So as we get closer to October 11th, the excitement is real. The boxing community is watching closely. Fighters, trainers, and fans alike are weighing in. Everyone knows what's at stake. And whether you're a believer in Boots Ennis as the next superstar or someone rooting for the upset that makes boxing so unpredictable, one thing is for sure, you won't want to miss it.